The Trump administration has been quietly trying to rename these bases by using the names of white American soldiers who share last names with the legends of the Confederacy. However, Donald Trump has just brazenly come out and said, we're going to be renaming all those bases back to their original Confederate names. One of the biggest mistakes this nation made was not coming to terms with the reality of this spirit of evil, treason, and psychopathy in this country. The conservative base that makes up MAGA has been a problem for a long time. These are the same people who rebelled against the country and started the Civil War for the right to maintain slavery. Donald Trump stands up in front of many troops, some of whom are black, and sits here and proudly talks about renaming these bases. Now, I can promise you, these bases will be denamed. I can promise you this, one day those names will be permanently removed, never to return. They will not win forever, but for right now, Donald Trump is spitting in the face of the ultimate sacrifice made by all of those white soldiers who died fighting the Confederacy, the black soldiers who died fighting the Confederacy, and every single American soldier since who have died, spitting in the face of every single person who has stood by this nation through thick and thin.
Little breaking news, we are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. We won a lot of battles out of those forts. It's no time to change. And I'm superstitious. You know, I like to keep it going, right? I'm very superstitious. We want to keep it going. So that's a big story. We just announced that today to you for the first time. They said, why didn't you wait till Saturday? I said, I can't wait. I got to talk to my friends here today. This is a record crowd. You know, you never had a crowd this big. That's an honor. You think this crowd would have showed up for Biden? I don't think so. I don't think so.
And all those troops in the crowd, no, Lord and Savior Trump. For those of you who think the military is going to oppose Trump, your ass is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And if you pay attention, all those guys behind him have red berets. Those are airborne units. These are guys who are more than likely infantry. In fact, they are infantry. If they have red berets, they're infantrymen. So these are all guys in the airborne units. I'm not sure which unit. I'm not sure if they're 101st or 82nd. But these are all airborne guys. These are all infantrymen. These are the people who are going to be running around with guns shooting in the event of war or in the event of a civil war, or Donald Trump is deciding to deploy them against us as he's sending the Marines in to handle the problem in LA. Donald Trump, alongside a whole bunch of people in this crowd, are cheering on, yay, rename the bases, yay. This is what happens when you run away from reality, which is what MAGA as an ideology does. We allowed this nation to run away from the reality of what the Civil War actually meant. We allowed this nation to run away from the reality of what treason actually looks like and why they committed the act of treason. That's why you have people sitting there clapping, yeah, rename the bases, yeah, nostalgia, yeah. These bases have meaning behind them. These names have meaning. And when you actually sit these people down and try to explain it to them, oftentimes you'll find a lot of them are like, you know what, actually, yeah, I mean, I can see why renaming the bases might be best. There are plenty of white and black soldiers we could rename these bases after who did not commit the act of treason. The price, ironically, it's very great that Donald Trump is the one to do this because this nation needs to learn this lesson directly from the source. Then the mistake we made of allowing people to idolize and worship treason and traitors, conservative white America being allowed to do this, has resulted in this. Trump is literally the avatar of conservative white America's hatred for this country. When they couldn't have their way with slavery, they rebelled and killed 600,000 Americans. And for the sake of unity, we romanticized the Civil War and allowed the conservative white American radical racist base to rewrite the entire story and romanticize the entire thing and name bases after these people and normalize the idea that these people did something honorable and noble, when in reality they did not. We need to start teaching the Articles of Secession. We need to start teaching the cornerstone speech. We need to start actually educating these kids that are growing up on what the Confederacy actually means. And not everyone's going to sit there and be against it. There are going to be some people who are pro-Confederacy, and so be it. It is what it is. But the reality is that if you're Black MAGA and you support this, understand and realize this is what this man stands for. And I know a lot of idiots will be sitting in the comments talking about, it was the Southern Democrats, which just goes to show what you know. Do you think if Robert E. Lee were alive today, he'd support the Democratic Party having a black man as president with a white man being his vice president? You think if Nathan Bedford Forrest was alive today, he'd co-sign a half black Jamaican, half Indian president that's female? You think Nathan Bedford Forrest would co-sign that? Do you actually believe that the Confederacy would be flying rainbow flags and talking about free Palestine? Are you dumb? Parties change. Ideologies change. There's only one political party to this day that honors and respects and reveres those who fought for the right to own slaves. It's the Republican Party. Why is it that the Democratic Party, let's just take your argument on its face and let's just investigate it, right? Let's just play devil's advocate, right? Why is it the Democratic Party seems to have learned their historical lesson? They sat there and they said, you know what? Slavery was wrong. Fighting for it was wrong. All of this is wrong. Honoring these people is wrong. You know what the conservatives, the Republicans said? Actually, these people are really cool. We should honor them and respect them and extol them and venerate them. Put that statue right there. Angle it like that. Yeah. Fly that flag real quick. Let the blacks know exactly where they are. The Republican Party is the only party to this day that's like, actually, the people who killed 600,000 Americans for the right to own slaves, really very cool people. Very cool. This nigga, very cool. Very cool. Get the fuck out of here. The Democratic Party is the party of slavery. At least let's just take your argument on its face, right? We know who the actual ideological descendants of the Confederates are. It's not the Democrats. We know who the ideological and sometimes even genetic descendants of them are. I mean, technically I'm one too, but we know who they are. It's the right wing. It's conservatives. We know who they are. The right wing loves the Confederacy to death. So this whole like the Democratic Party was a party of slavery, that's what low IQ idiots believe. Obviously, the party of slavery was the Conservative Party, which today their name is the Republican Party. The Southern strategy is real. It did happen. No real honest racist will deny it. And the reality is you're looking at it in your face right now. All those soldiers clapping. Some of them, most of them in ignorance, because most people don't even understand. Most people don't even get it. That's how effective the lie has been. It's very hard to find, not that hard, but it's kind of hard to find someone who's like, yeah, Robert E. Lee, yeah, Confederacy, yeah, Rebel Yell, whatever the fuck, who's like, oh yeah, actually, I've read the Articles of Secession and the Cornerstone speech, and those guys had it right. A lot of these people do this shit out of ignorance. I know people in the chat are going to be like, I know there are plenty of racists who understand what the Confederacy stood for. I know. But we don't talk enough about the amount of ignorance there is, where people just passively support this dumb shit without realizing the seriousness of it all. Education is key, and that's why conservatives hate education. Because the more people know, the less likely they are to support the bullshit. It is what it is. Looks like we're going to have to learn this one the hard way yet again. For the first time ever, Donald Trump seems to be siding with losers. It is what it is.